You're listening to Business English Pod, the business English podcast for professionals on the move.
Hello and welcome back to Business English Pod for today's lesson on reporting on the progress of a project. Before we get started, a quick reminder that a PDF transcript for this lesson, along with hundreds of others, is available on the BEP website. Premium members can also access extra resources for every lesson. To take a free trial, just head over to www.businessenglishpod.com. Project management isn't just for people who consider themselves a project manager. No matter what kind of work you do, you'll likely have to lead or participate in some kind of project. And if you are a project manager, then today's lesson is particularly important. Reporting on progress can happen in various settings, ranging from formal meetings with stakeholders to more casual interactions, like a quick chat at the water cooler or over a coffee. While the tone and format may differ, the core principles remain the same. Effective communication in these moments is crucial to keep everyone aligned and ensure no details slip through the cracks. For example, you'll likely want to ask for an update and confirm key details. You'll also have to identify follow-up actions, assign responsibility, and establish clear deadlines. Ultimately, strong reporting and follow-up skills are essential to fostering accountability and driving projects to successful completion. In this lesson, we'll hear a project manager named Rudy giving updates to his boss, Wolfgang. They work for a company that maintains and modifies jetways, the bridges that connect airplanes to the airport gates. They've been working on a project to modify jetways at an airport for a large type of plane called an A380. As you listen to the dialogue, try to answer the following questions. 1. How does Wolfgang respond to the possible problem that Joe has identified? 2. What actions does Wolfgang ask Rudy to take after he mentions Joe's solution? 3. After they discuss costs and budget, what topic does Wolfgang ask about near the end of the conversation?
How's it going, Rudy?
Not bad. Just back from Terminal A.
Really? Speaking of Terminal A, can you give me a quick update on Gate 53?
Sure. Well, no major issues.
That's good.
But Joe, the site engineer, has run the new numbers in AutoCAD, and he's worried that the A380 aft passenger door might damage the mountings on the jetway extension.
Are you sure he's right? I don't want us to be doing any one-offs unless it's really necessary.
Actually, I think he's really on the ball with this one. I'm quite impressed with his work.
So, what are we going to do?
Well, Joe has already designed a modification. The new build shouldn't be much more expensive.
That's fine. Just check with Ella in contracts to make sure we're covered for the costs. Then shoot me an email.
No problem, of course. But I still think we're coming in way under budget.
What about making the deadline? Any problems there?
I don't think so. Joe is carrying out tests over the next couple of days. We'll be able to make up for lost time over the weekend.
Good. I want you to prepare a brief report on this for Tuesday's key accounts meeting. I think we have a good story to tell here about how we bend over backwards to meet customer requirements.
Now let's go through the dialogue again and listen to how Rudy and Wolfgang talk about the project. We begin as Rudy has just returned from Terminal A. A terminal is one of several main airport buildings or parts of the airport. Terminals have gates, which are the specific places where airplanes park and load passengers.
How's it going, Rudy?
Not bad. Just back from Terminal A.
Really? Speaking of Terminal A, can you give me a quick update on Gate 53?
Reporting on progress typically starts with someone asking for an update. In this case, Wolfgang asks nicely for a quick update. We use the language of requests when we want information or updates. Wolfgang's request begins with, "Can you give me?" Let's try some other ways of requesting a project update.
Can you give me a status update on the project?
How is the software testing going so far?
Could you bring me up to speed on the logistics schedule?
What's the latest on that vendor review?
You may have noticed some special expressions we use for updates in those examples. For example, "What's the latest?" means what's new. And to bring someone up to speed means to update them. Now let's hear Rudy's update.
Sure. Well, no major issues.
That's good.
But Joe, the site engineer, has run the new numbers in AutoCAD, and he's worried that the A380 aft passenger door might damage the mountings on the jetway extension.
Are you sure he's right? I don't want us to be doing any one-offs unless it's really necessary.
In Rudy's update, he identifies a possible problem with their project. According to an engineer, the rear or aft door of the airplane might damage the jetway. Wolfgang doesn't want to start discussing solutions unless he's absolutely sure about it. For this reason, Wolfgang asks for confirmation that it's a problem. He says, "Are you sure?" just to double check that it's really a problem. What are some other ways of asking for confirmation during a progress update? Let's run through some more examples.
Are you sure the budget covers these additional costs?
Can you confirm the delivery date for next week?
Is it correct that all permits have been approved?
Are we certain that all stakeholders have agreed on the proposal?
So is Rudy sure that Joe is right about the problem? Let's listen.
Actually, I think he's really on the ball with this one. I'm quite impressed with his work.
So, what are we going to do?
Well, Joe has already designed a modification. The new build shouldn't be much more expensive.
That's fine. Just check with Ella in contracts to make sure we're covered for the costs. Then shoot me an email.
Rudy is not only sure that there's a problem, but he also reports that Joe has figured out how to solve it. So as you can hear, Wolfgang's job is not to find and solve every problem himself, but as a manager, he has to make sure someone is finding problems and solutions to them. And part of managing projects in this way is ensuring people are taking the right follow-up actions. Wolfgang instructs Rudy to check with another employee about costs, and then shoot or send him an email. This will help Wolfgang monitor the situation going forward. Let's try some more examples of identifying follow-up actions during a conversation about project updates.
Let's set up a meeting with finance to finalize the budget.
Please ensure the suppliers are aware of our updated timelines.
Let's assign Tony to review all the contracts.
Make a note to check in with HR about hiring additional support.
Now let's get back to the dialogue, as Wolfgang asks about another key element of project management.
No problem, of course. But I still think we're coming in way under budget.
What about making the deadline? Any problems there?
I don't think so. Joe is carrying out tests over the next couple of days. We'll be able to make up for lost time over the weekend.
Of course, two of the most important conversations in a project are money and time. And when Wolfgang asks about the deadline or the date when the project is supposed to finish, Rudy needs to give an update. His update includes an estimate of how long Joe's tests will take. He then assures Wolfgang that they can make up for lost time over the weekend. When you make up for time you've lost, you do something faster so that you're not behind on your timeline. What are some other ways we can talk about deadlines on a project? Let's try a few more examples.
We need to finalize the prototype by the end of the month.
The report must be ready for review by Friday afternoon.
We're aiming to complete this phase of the project by June.
Let's set a deadline for bid submissions for next Wednesday.
Now, after they've discussed money and time, Wolfgang has some final instructions for Rudy.
Good. I want you to prepare a brief report on this for Tuesday's key accounts meeting. I think we have a good story to tell here about how we bend over backwards to meet customer requirements.
If you bend over backwards for someone, then you work very hard to make them happy or satisfied with your work. And Wolfgang feels that Rudy's updates will provide the whole team evidence of this commitment to their customers. Rudy will take the project updates that he's provided in conversation and write them into a report. So how we talk about project updates is also relevant to how we write about project updates. Now let's practice some of the language we learned in today's lesson. Imagine you are a manager in a company that is managing a design project. You're asking for updates from an employee and discussing the timeline. You'll hear a cue from the employee. Then I'll tell you how to respond. We'll guide you through each step in the practice and provide an example answer for each response. Ready? Let's give it a go.
So was there anything else you wanted to discuss?
Start by saying yes and asking to be brought up to speed on phase 1.
Answer: Yes. Can you bring me up to speed on phase 1?
Everything is on track, and we have a new designer joining us next week.
Now confirm that the designer is joining next week and not next month.
Answer: Are you sure they're going to be available next week and not next month?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what Sandra said at our meeting yesterday.
Next, ask the person to send Sandra an email after your meeting, just to confirm.
Answer: Well, I'd like you to send Sandra an email when we're done here, just to confirm.
No problem. And I guess this will impact the timeline, right?
Now say that you want to stick to the original deadline of August 31st.
Answer: Actually, I want to stick to the original deadline of August 31st.
That's all for this lesson on reporting on the progress of a project. We've learned how to ask for an update and confirm key information. We've also covered how to identify follow-up actions and discuss deadlines. For more practice, premium members can access the online quizzes and PDF transcripts for this and other lessons on the BEP website. Not a member yet? Then head over to www.businessenglishpod.com and sign up for a free trial to preview some of the extra resources available to members. Thanks for listening, and see you again soon.